So, welcome to the Intern Whisperer, where we are all interns in life, right? Our show talks about the future of work, where humans and machines meet. This is our season 8, and we've been doing this for 8 years. And so this year, we're going to do again some new stuff. As I told you in our previous episode, I want to make sure you guys know what's coming. And we look forward to your feedback. What do you guys want to hear? Tell us. So, hi everyone. My name's Isabella Johnston, and I am the host of the Intern Whisperer podcast. Our show is brought to you by Employers for Change, an AI powered platform that aligns employers' mission, values, and core skills to talent from intern to senior leader. You know, I love those interns, right? So, the podcast, let's talk about it. This show is all about the Jetsons effect, how yesterday's science fiction created today's AI reality. So, I want to take you back to a time when, I don't know if you've seen the Jetsons. It was on in the early mid 60s. And when it came out, it was, really cool. It was fun. It was just something that people had seen. It actually is playing on Netflix right now. So you can go and watch it there. And you should watch all of the episodes because it was a precursor to what we have now and still what is coming. I want to make sure you know our show's always about the future of work, innovation, and how imagination can sometimes be the best predictor of reality. As you know, I'm your host, and today's episode, we're going to take a bit of a time travel adventure back to the past so we can understand our present. So while we're diving into the Jetsons effect, how a 1960s cartoon, along with the pioneers of science, helped shape the AI-driven world we live in today, I want you to buckle up. So let's talk about who the pioneers of AI and the internet are. Before we get too deep into the names, you've probably already heard them: McCarthy, Turing, Shannon, and I want to shine a spotlight on some names you might not know, but you should. Now, women have been pioneering forces in AI, computer science, gaming, and robotics since the very beginning. Let's start with Ada Lovelace, the first computer programmer who, in the 1800s, envisioned that machines could go beyond math into art, music, and even logic. I'm pretty sure she would have had a lot to say about ChatGPT. Then there's Grace Hopper, the creator of the first compiler and a woman who literally coined the term debugging when she removed a moth from a computer. It's not a metaphor, it's a real moth. So then Jean Summet helped develop Formac, Formac, one of the first programming languages for symbolic math. Karen Spark Jones brought us the foundations of natural language processing, which means if you've ever Googled anything or asked Siri a question, you owe her thanks. And in robotics and networking, we had Radia Perlman, the mother of the internet. She invented the spanning tree protocol, making modern network routing possible. Without her, cloud computing and even your Wi-Fi wouldn't exist. So more recently, people like Fei-Fei Li, co-director of Stanford's Human-Centered AI Institute, are leading the charge in responsible AI. And in gaming, we've got pioneers like Brenda Romero, who's been designing award-winning games since the 1980s. I think it's really important that we shine a light on these women that have been our pioneers, that have been breaking the way for women to be more involved in games and AI and everything we're experiencing, robots, augmented, virtual realities, haptics, you name it, anything that's frontier technology. Women are a part of this, and I want everybody to know that. Now let's rewind back to 1943. While the world was consumed by war, there were two men, Warren McCulloch and Walter Pitts. They were quietly building the future. They sketched the first mathematical model of a neural network. 1943, people. No one called it AI then. It was just math. Beautiful, hopeful math. Now we're going to jump to 1950. A British thinker named Alan Turing, yes, the Enigma codebreaker, asked one question: can machines think? That idea launched 1,000 research papers and a few dystopian movies. Then came 1956. Dartmouth College, a bunch of brainy guys, John McCarthy, Marvin Minsky, Claude Shannon, got together and said, let's call this thing artificial intelligence. Boom! A field was born. Now, a fun fact: John McCarthy later joked, as soon as it works, people will stop calling it AI. And honestly, he's still right. So in 1958, Frank Rosenblatt developed the perceptron at Cornell. It was the first artificial neural network, and for a hot second, it seemed like machines might learn as fast as humans. Here's a spoiler: they didn't. Not yet. We've seen how technology advances and it seems like it's faster. Well, it is. Every day you open up your computer, you open up your phone, whatever, you just go, what happened? Everything is different. Everybody's using AI. All of these things are happening. It seems like it came out of nowhere. It's actually been around for a while. So, meanwhile, there was another revolution that was brewing: the internet. J.C.R. Licklider at ARPA imagined a galactic network, kind of like the Force, but for email. And in 1971, Ray Tomlinson invented the first email, and he added the little at symbol, you know, the A with the little circle around it, to our lives. Who knew that one day that would spark Twitter wars? So I want to go back to the Jetsons. It's a really cool show. And if you haven't seen it, again, go to Netflix. You can find it there. And you're going to see where fiction meets foresight. It's 1962. America's in the space race. The Cold War is icy, and a little cartoon imagines what life might look like in 2062. Flying cars? Check. Robot maids? Yep. Video calls? Nailed it. Now, what did I say? I said it was 1962 and they were imagining what life would look like in 2062. That was only 100 years. Do we have flying cars? Yes. Do we have robots? Yes. You have that Roomba that goes and sweeps the floor? Yes. You have a maid. Video calls? Yes, we have that. In the Jetsons, there was Rosie the robot. She vacuumed, she babysat, and she would throw shade, all while wearing an apron. Today, she might be called Roomba GPT. The Jetsons weren't just for kids. It reflected real fears, job automation, gender roles in tech, and the rise of consumer culture. But it also made the future feel exciting, not terrifying, because they wrapped it all up in this little family where, you know, it felt like it was always something cool. I watched this series twice this year just to make sure I knew what was happening there. And I realized that, you know, if you watched it as a kid, it seemed really interesting and it was fun. And it may still seem interesting to kids. I don't think they have Saturday cartoons anymore, but adults, it was really like made for adults. And so a sci fi author, Ursula K. Le Guin, said science fiction is not predictive, it is descriptive. And we weren't trying to predict AI, we were dreaming it into being. But yet there's these people, these scientists that were creating this. Job automation, that was happening in the Jetsons. Gender roles in tech, you could see that that was happening. They would have 3D printing your clothes, 3D printing food. All of these things that we still talk about was being thought of. And it was brought to us through a cartoon in the 60s, the late 60s. So it's real and you can go and see. And it's been taking some time to ramp up. But that was like, I don't know, 1960s. That was like 40 something years ago, right? Maybe more. So now we're going to go jump to dreams and to deep learning. Now let's fast forward to the 1980s. We have big hair. If you love that 80s music, you're going to love this. And even bigger tech promises. Think of Saturday Night Live. Expert systems like XCon could do what humans did if you gave them enough rules, but then came the AI winter twice. So the 80s and the early 90s were like breakup songs for AI, full of hype, disappointment, and it's not you, it's funding. It's just so hard to keep the funding going. Then in 1997, something magical happened. IBM's Deep Blue beat chess champion Gary Kasparov. Humans freaked out a bit. How is it that a computer, the big deep blue IBM machine, was able to beat a human in chess? By 2011, IBM's Watson won Jeopardy, and in 2012, deep learning got its glow up thanks to Geoffrey Hinton's team. Now, you guys know I've been talking about Geoffrey Hinton for a while. He was over on the 60 Minutes episode on October 8th in 2023, and he shared his perspective of what his original thoughts were when he was creating AI and what they are now. It's still played out there. If you search for 60 Minutes, October 8, Geoffrey Hinton, and by the way, his name is spelled Geoffrey, and Hinton is Hinton. If you search for it, you can watch the interview. It takes like maybe about 10 minutes, but it's very powerful. So the idea that this stuff could actually get smarter than people, it was thought that's way off. That's not possible. But Geoffrey Hinton now says, he no longer thinks that. He thinks it's totally possible. And I've got a series of quotes from that interview, and I think that they're really interesting. I think that we're moving into a period when the first time ever, we may have things more intelligent than us. And he also was stated as saying, I think they probably don't, meaning they being the computers and the AI, I think they probably don't have much self-awareness at present. So in that sense, I don't think that they're conscious. But yet we've been having news reports that, oh yes, they can. Keep in mind, people, that it's humans that are programming this. And what AI does is it goes out there and it picks up all of this information that's on the web, everything that we have, good and bad, and it can be not correct. It's really important to fact check. You guys know I talk about ethical use of it and making sure that we're always being responsible stewards of AI. So I'm going to keep that message going in perpetuity because I really believe that we shouldn't be just, sleeping over here on the side. We need to stay in control and be able to be good stewards. So this is one of my favorite quotes that Geoffrey Hinton said. One of the ways in which these systems might escape control is by writing their own computer code to modify themselves. And yet that's happened. There's been reports about how that has happened. And Geoffrey even said, and that's something we need to seriously worry about. I'm not saying that it's all going to be dark and doom and all of that, but I really believe we have to be responsible with this. We have to make sure that we're in tune with it, that we're not just saying, oh, well, it's on the internet, it must be right. Oh, well, AI created it, it must be right. You need to be engaged. You don't trust everything that is out there. In journalism, we say that you want to make sure that you are always double checking. You're always looking to see. You want to trust and verify. Trust that yes, it's supposed to be a reputable source, but you should always go back and make sure that you have verified the source, that you know that it's true. You need to research this, and the value of having strong research skills is going to accelerate. The ability to have critical thinking and problem solving skills is obviously very, very important. But even on the communication front, your ability to listen correctly, to make sure that you're not skimming, which is what we've all been trained to do now, skim content instead of reading it. Read it out loud, read it slowly, really think about what's being said, and then question it. You want to verify, is this true? Because I was having, honestly, Chat GPT, I call it Vision now. I said, I need you to help me. I need you to build out a list. And it started making up a bunch of names of people that have never been on my show. I said, nope, go back and go fix it. Here's the links. I said, here's my podcast link. Here's my YouTube link. Go find these correct names. and it's going back to do it. But you have to be diligent. You have to be engaged with what's going on. Don't think that just because it comes out here, it's true. So I'm going to go back to the quotes. The idea that this stuff, this AI, could actually get smarter than people, Jeffrey has said, I thought it was way off. Obviously, I no longer think that. So the whole interview is really great. I really encourage you guys to go and watch it. He's known as the godfather of deep learning, and he had left Google so he could speak freely about AI's risks. And if Jeffrey Hinton is getting nervous, we should be asking ourselves, maybe we should too.
The Intern Whisperer is brought to you by Cat5 Studios, who help you create games and videos for your training and marketing needs that are out of this world. Visit Cat5 Studios for more information to learn how Cat5 Studios can help your business. Thank you, Cat5 Studios.
So, a statistic I want to share with you: 42% of companies now use generative AI, but only 15% have ethics policies. And that's straight from McKinsey in 2023. That's like giving a teenager a Ferrari with no driver's education, with no ability to know how to use that vehicle properly and be safe. It's the same for us. So we're going to take a moment and acknowledge Cat5 Studios, and we'll be right back. So now we're into the last half of our show here. Now, the internet. From our this one I don't know honestly how to say, our planet to TikTok, we're going to be looking at this, our planet. Let's not forget the internet. It started in the 1970s with our planet. The first message that was sent, it was LO. They were trying to type login, but the system crashed. But we're going to jump over here to the 1990s, and Tim Berners-Lee gifted us the World Wide Web. So in the 2000s, social media took off, and by 2010, your phone was officially smarter than your high school science teacher. Your phone in 2010. And what year is this? 2025? We should be really thinking about that. That's not that long ago, people. So we're talking 15 years, and that's when we started having our phones. And then, early 2000s, social media took off. Facebook, all of these things that we use now, they're not that old, but they kind of are. But look how much they've advanced. So here's another fun fact. The first the first webcam, it was used by researchers at Cambridge to check if the coffee pot was full. If that's not peak nerd behavior, I don't know what it is. Now we're going to be looking at what is coming into the future here. We're talking about quantum internet, 5G, and Web3. We've come a long way from the dial-up tones. And I'm going to bring in people that know how to, I don't know a whole lot about Web3, and I know some stuff about 5G, but I'm going to bring in guests that can talk about this. And you can also learn, and you can go and question these things. When I was a public classroom teacher, or when I was teaching as a professor at a college, I would always tell my students, listen, don't trust everything that I say to you. You should always go back to what I was saying earlier. Trust and verify. Do your own research. Be engaged. Be involved. Make sure that you're questioning this. That curiosity is a very valuable skill. So it applies with what it is that you're learning about all of this information about AI. Do the work. Make sure that you understand it, that you're using it, that you're practicing whatever the best ethical standards are that you can, and be engaged. So, before we close, I want to mention how there's two shows that do a brilliant job of painting very different pictures of our tech-driven future. So, first one is Black Mirror. This is a British anthology series that was created by Charlie Brooker, and it first aired in 2011. It's like holding a dark, sometimes terrifying mirror up to society. It's showing the darkest, most depraved behavior as to what people are like. And it shows us what can happen when technology takes a wrong turn. I watched this one episode where they paid this man a lot of money to come in, and they wanted to drill something into the back of his head. And he really needed money to be able to pay for something. he agreed to it, but he didn't read the terms. And once he was like, they bound him down on a table and everything, he couldn't think anymore. I had to stop watching it, honestly. It was really unsettling. And then they had this other episode where everybody has a social ranking because you're on some level of social channels. That determined how much engagement you would get from people around you. If you didn't smile at the barista, you could have been given less votes or less stars and a comment that said not friendly. And then you'd be shunned by everybody around you. That's frightening, I think. But this is where I believe the direction for our job skills are going. Everybody will need to have impact resumes. It's not just what is the, how well do you know a platform? How well do you know how to use your communication skills? It's actually how much impact are you providing to either increase productivity, improve customer service experience, be able to increase any type of revenue that the company makes? How are you reducing any complaints out there? All of these are the things that are going to be measured as we move again more and more forward into job opportunities. So people need to be aware of how we are being measured for jobs. So only those with really high core skills would be able to get the best jobs. That, what does that mean for the rest of us that may not have those really excellent core skills? You know, I talk about research, time management, creativity, problem solving, critical thinking, and communication. And you guys know I break communication down into listening, into verbal skills, into written skills, but also visual skills. That's the observation. That's how you pick up on what's going on with people, where you can pick up on empathy. Really important that you be able to understand how valuable those skills are. And that's how we, again, begin to still differentiate ourselves from machines like AI. What I'm saying is you need to make sure that you tune in to things that are showing what the dark side can be, but we are also making sure that there's, you know, another show. It's called The Future of. It was released 2022 on Netflix. And unlike Black Mirror, this docuseries imagines how life might improve through futuristic tech, from augmented reality to AI relationships to smart pets to it's a hopeful glimpse into what's possible if we're intentional. I think it's important to watch both of these shows because it'll help you have a more balanced approach. One of the things that I found really interesting, and it reminded me of an Avatar movie, is that when people pass, they will be able to be, it's called human composting. There's a lot of that out there where the person is covered in a cloth and they're put into a box where there's dirt and worms and stuff like that. And we turn into this ball that becomes at the bottom of a tree and we're planted, and it's putting our DNA into the earth, into the leaves, all of these things. And then there was an article I had also read about how police were able to solve a killing because there was DNA from the victim in the leaves that was where they could find a body, but they didn't know what to do. And so they found it in the plant life around the body. I think that these things are amazing. So when you think about the movie Avatar and you think about all that collective wisdom that went into the trees, into the roots, and into it, and it was all talking, you know, you may think it's like, it's not real. I don't know if it's real or not. I just know that science has been able to prove that there is truth in some of this. And I think that's what we need to be paying attention to. So, a lot of the things that we have seen and I've talked about here are things that we see in science fiction movies. And if you pay attention to your science fiction movies, like we'll go with Men in Black, that's one of my favorite shows, movies. I talk about that one a lot also on previous episodes, and how there's life from other planets here. Is it possible? Who knows? Yes, I would say yes, I believe it is possible. But I think that what we need to remember is that people that dream up this stuff that we see in science fiction movies, it is that these are things that have happened and are in our lives. A majority, I would say, not all of them. So I want you to go back, watch The Future of, and it's dot, 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 and it's on Netflix. And then also watch some episodes of Black Mirror. And then there's another one out there. It's called Coded Bias, and how the facial recognition, it's all being tracked on us through TikTok, through Instagram. All of these tools, all of these social channels are tracking us and being able to learn more about us. It works better on white people than it does on people of color, but they're still figuring a lot of this out. That's why if you walk outside, you're going to see cameras everywhere. Start counting the cameras that you see on street corners, count how many cameras you see inside of the buildings you're in. These things are all how we're being tracked. It's not like conspiracy. It's there. You can count it. So what do we learn about all of this? Technology doesn't just change tools, it changes us. It changes our jobs, it changes our relationships, and it can change our sense of wonder. It can change it for the better, but it can also change it for not so good. It's important to be paying attention to people around you. Are we living in the Jetsons or Black Mirror? Or maybe somewhere between Ex Machina or the Matrix? It depends on your Wi-Fi signal. Maybe a little bit of both. When I say your Wi-Fi signal, what it is that you're gravitating to. And as we move forward, let's not just ask what AI can do. Let's ask what it should do. And let's keep dreaming, because imagination is still the most powerful machine we have, and it beats out any type of machine that we create. So I want to thank you for joining me on this whirlwind journey through time and tech. I want you to subscribe to the Intern Whisper for more future work forecasts and how to skill up quickly. And remember, the future isn't written by algorithms. It's written by people like you and me. So listen to our podcast, The Intern Whisper. You can find me on LinkedIn, Isabella Johnston, and play our game, Intern Pursuit Game. It's on Steam. Follow me on your favorite social media, and I will see you again next time, future builders. So thank you to our sponsor, Cat5 Studios, and thank you to our video production team, and who is Ricardo Negron, and music is by Sophie Lloyd. The Intern Whisperer is brought to you by Employers for Change, an AI-powered platform that aligns employers' mission, values, and core skills to talent, from intern to senior leader. Subscribe to the Intern Whisperer today and show your support by sharing our show, tagging a friend to listen, and leave us comments. Tell us what it is that you would like us to talk about. Thank you. Thank you to our sponsor, Cat5 Studios, and thank you to our video production and editing team. Music is by Sophie Lloyd. The Intern Whisperer is brought to you by Employers for Change, helping hiring teams to recruit and upskill their intern talent and employees. Learn more at www.e4c.tech and become a member to reduce hiring bias and improve your company culture through head and heart smart recruitment and learning. Subscribe to the Intern Whisperer today and show your support by sharing our show, tagging a friend to listen, and leaving us comments. You can find the Intern Whisperer podcast on Employers for Change YouTube channel or streaming from your favorite podcast channel.